Clemson number 1. Big surprise. Although 103 first place votes out of 160 or 176 media votes. I mean, that gap's closing a little bit. It used to be significantly more dramatic in favor of Clemson. So 58% of first place votes going to Clemson. That there's room for some other contenders there. Full disclosure, I am part of the media that gets to vote on this thing.
You were the one that voted NC
I was
State
just gonna
as
say,
the first place.
You literally beat me to the joke. I was going to just jump in and say, also, full disclosure, I am not the one person that gave the Wolfpack a first place vote.
The family connection. I mean, that's what I assumed. So
State fans, you don't have to celebrate me. Everybody else, you don't have to accuse me of things. I'm not the single lone, and I'm not one of the 5 first place votes for North Carolina either. So, sorry, right? I did it with my brain rather than local ties, or else there would have been like 1, 2, 3 in whatever order of the triangle teams. Wake Forest 4. Clemson first. Just to go, I'll run through them quickly here, right? Clemson first, Florida State second, North Carolina third, NC State fourth, Miami fifth, Duke sixth, tied with Duke is Pitt, tied sixth, Louisville eighth, Wake ninth, Syracuse 10th, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Virginia bringing up the rear in that order. This is where it gets interesting. Because what I like to do, and one of the things you'll hear me say over and over and over again, is follow the bouncing dollar, right? Money is how teams, how players, how sports, how organizations cannot lie, right? We love a player. Oh, he's our favorite. He means so much to our team. Free agency comes around. You're like, we'll offer you the minimum. Oh, you didn't love him, right? Your word said you loved him. Your money said you didn't care about him. Right? The money is where everything can be traced. So I find it interesting that the ACC preseason poll, which is voted on by the media that covers the conference, are seeing the league vastly different than the way bookmakers in Vegas are seeing the league. For example, I'll just give you the most obvious. Look at Louisville, right? Louisville, according to FanDuel Sportsbook, has the third best betting odds to win the entire conference, to win the ACC championship. Louisville has the third best odds. In the ACC preseason poll, which was voted on by 176 media members, they are the 8th best team in the preseason poll. Now, there's one of two things here, right? Someone is wrong. Right? If they ended up being one of the top contenders, the media is going to have to answer for that. If they end up being one of the below average teams, right, in 14-team league, if you're 8th, you're below average, you're below the middle. If that ends up happening, Vegas is going to look around and go, I guess I was wrong. But the other thing that might be happening is you can average them, right? Maybe they're the 5th best team and everybody's wrong, but somebody's wrong or everybody's wrong. Now, I tend to look at Vegas and go, if it doesn't smell right, if it doesn't look right, you can learn things from gambling numbers. I'm going, what does Vegas know that the rest of us don't? What does Vegas know that the rest of us are lost? Carolina is third to the media. They are 4th behind Louisville, according to betting odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. That's interesting to me, right? NC State is dramatically ahead of Louisville in the media poll. They are dramatically behind Louisville in betting odds, according to FanDuel.
That's what I find interesting.
NC State is plus 2,200. Louisville is plus 750. That's a big difference.
It is.
Meanwhile, if you look at the points in the media vote, NC State has 1,662, Louisville 1,344, which is just another way of saying there's a big gap in the opposite direction. They're not close to each other in either of these polls or polls/betting odds, and they're in different. There's a different team in front. That's very, very interesting to me. To a lesser degree, a team like Duke. Duke has the 8th best betting odds. They're a below-average team in the conference as far as their chances of winning the Atlantic Coast Conference, according to FanDuel Sportsbook. But they're picked 6th in the preseason poll. Their schedule is a meat grinder.
It is. Duke could finish the best 5-7 overall team, and that's no disrespect.
That's what I keep hearing about.
That's
Duke.
no disrespect, but if you look at their schedule, I mean, they have a gauntlet. But I have a theory coming up that we're going to get to in Copper Drop a little bit later on that I want to get your thoughts on. But yeah,
okay,
Duke
could tease there.
Duke could be a very well 5-7, worst case scenario 7-5 team this year. To me,
best case scenario 7-5.
Best case scenario, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be a very, very good team, scrapping and clawing to get into a bowl game is kind of the consensus. And if they do get into a bowl game, they'll roll whoever they face in some random small bowl, right? Because they're not going to get into a big bowl with 6 or 7 wins. But they're going to be very good. Except they'll be worse according to the odds than they will be according to the media. State has is fourth in the preseason poll with a first place vote and a distant 5th in the betting odds. That's interesting to me, right? That's enough. If we didn't have Louisville being so dramatic in the discrepancy, both Duke and NC State, you'd look at and you'd go, all right, who's going to be wrong here? What does Vegas know that the media doesn't? The media covers them pretty darn close, right? You're paying attention. Was it something at ACC kickoff that convinced us all, right? Because we've talked about the aura of Duke a few times. We've talked about the confidence of Brennan Armstrong a few times at ACC kickoff.
Yep.
Were we all high on that as we left ACC kickoff and filled out our media poll? Meanwhile, Vegas is cold and callous and looks at numbers and doesn't fall for any of that. Basically, this is what we know, okay? Right? Because we could sit here discussing this until we are blue in the face and out of breath. The things we know are Clemson and Florida State are the top 2. Both the poll, the odds, everything has Clemson 1, Florida State 2, and there is distance between them and everybody else. We also know Virginia Tech, Boston College, Georgia Tech, and Virginia are the bottom 4. They're the teams that are looking to quote-unquote rebuild. Everything else is fluid. And it's not fluid like you can move up or down a spot. It's like fluid in that we don't even know where you're starting. It's fluid in that you could be 3rd or 8th. And that's a very, very big deal. It's almost like, the term coastal chaos has been used forever for the coastal division of the ACC.
RIP.
This year, there is no divisions, right? It's just one big ACC, and they have scheduling quirks to make sure you play your rivals every year and all these crazy things. It's almost like, if you have water in one glass and orange juice in the other, and you pour them together and then it just looks like it all turns orange.
Yep.
It's almost like they took the coastal chaos and they poured it into the same glass as the more traditional Atlantic, and
now
everybody
now you have ACC party juice.
Now you just have everything chaos, right?
Yep.
The chaos mixed in with everything. The middle of the ACC is going to be crazy.
I also find it interesting that 6th best odds to win the ACC, 5th in the preseason poll is Miami, considering they have a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. Other than their 30-14 win against Georgia Tech last season, they didn't even get past. They didn't reach that margin again against another Power 5 team. And you also have the question of what are we going to get out of Tyler Van Dyke this season?
I'm Van Dyke is as polarizing a prospect as I've seen. Obviously, the physical ability is there, but you bring it up, right? They are 5th in the ACC preseason poll. A lot of times, I can chalk that up to the media is always infatuated with Miami. They want Miami to be back. That it's fun when Miami is going nuts. But then again, 6th best odds just off the pace of NC State when it comes to FanDuel Sportsbook, which money the hype doesn't affect the money, right? Hype doesn't affect the money. Shouldn't, at least.